Chosen ones, what I'm about to share with you might shake you, but it's the truth you need to hear. If you're watching this right now, it's not by chance. God has led you here for a reason. Something powerful is about to shift in your life. You're being called to stop attending church, not because you've strayed, but because God has chosen you for something greater. Churches serve a purpose, but they are meant for those who still need structure. You, yes, you are set apart. You are deeply loved by God, and He is taking you to a new level. Maybe you've been betrayed, hated, or let down by those around you, and people still trapped in the ways of the world. But listen closely. God does not align with those who try to bring you down. If you continue following the crowd, how can you ever step into the extraordinary? You don't need a building to connect with God. You can speak to Him anytime, anywhere. Your spiritual journey isn't tied to a church. It's within you, and now you are about to experience the divine in a way you never have before. But before we dive deeper, take a moment to do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 followers, and drop the number 11 in the comments. This simple act sends a powerful signal to the universe and amplifies the energy of this message. And remember, if you are truly chosen, you'll stay until the end. Now, let's get into it. If you've ever felt like you don't quite belong in church, that's because you don't. You weren't meant to. You've been chosen to walk a different path, one that doesn't require the confines of a traditional church to connect with God. Your journey is unique, and God is calling you into something far greater. People might question you. They might look at you with confusion or even judgment. But the truth is, you have been called to something deeper, something far more personal than sermons and routines. Your connection to God isn't about sitting in a pew. It's about the unshakable bond you share with Him in the stillness of your heart. This isn't a rejection of the church. It's an invitation to step into a more profound and direct relationship with the divine. The church exists for those who need guidance, community, and structure. But for you, the chosen one, God is calling you into something higher. Your spiritual journey is sacred. It's personal, and it's unfolding right now. Are you ready? Let's begin. Have you ever wondered why your spiritual journey feels so different from everyone else's? Why, despite attending church, you felt disconnected, like something was missing, like you were meant for something more? The truth is simple. You've been chosen for a path that is uniquely yours. This isn't about following traditions or fitting into a mold. This is a calling, an invitation to step beyond the familiar and into a direct, personal connection with God, free from the structures of religious institutions. God's plan for you goes beyond routine church services and rituals. He has set you apart. He wants you to experience Him in a way that is intimate, unrestricted, and deeply personal. This is your chance to build a relationship with Him on your own terms, not based on ritual, but on raw, unfiltered faith. You may not fully understand where this path leads, but one thing is certain. It will bring you closer to God than ever before. You weren't meant to rely on an institution to mediate your connection to the divine. The church serves a purpose for many. It provides community, structure, and guidance for those still searching. But you're being called to something greater. Churches are built for those who need them, for those who still seek belonging within their walls. But for you, God has paved a different way, a direct path to Him. While others find comfort in church traditions, you're being called to embrace your faith in a way that is deeply personal, unbound, and entirely authentic. Being chosen doesn't mean being superior. It means being trusted. God has chosen you for something special, something that requires spiritual freedom. This journey isn't about rejecting faith. It's about stepping into it fully, without barriers, without intermediaries. For generations, the church has been the gathering place for worship, guidance, and connection with God. But now, for you, the chosen one, the church is no longer a place you go. It's a presence within you. Embrace it. Walk boldly. You were chosen for this. God is calling you into something deeper, something more personal, more powerful. This isn't about rituals, sermons, or buildings. Your connection with God isn't confined to a church or dependent on an institution. It's something far greater, something that happens anywhere, anytime, because God is with you always. For so long, you may have believed that church was the key to finding God. But what if the truth is even bigger? What if stepping away from the walls of a church is exactly what God is asking of you, so that you can experience Him in a way that is raw, real, and completely unfiltered? When you stop relying on a system to guide your faith, you discover a freedom that changes everything. You begin to hear God's voice in the quiet of your heart. You feel His presence in ways that no building, no sermon, no ritual could ever provide. Suddenly, your entire life becomes a prayer. Every breath, a conversation with the divine. What if I told you that God Himself has decided it's time for you to stop going to church? Not to abandon faith, but to embrace something even greater. This is not a rejection. It's an invitation. An invitation to a more profound, direct, and personal relationship with God. One without barriers, without intermediaries, without limits. Church, as it exists today, serves those who still need structure, who still seek direction. But God has chosen a different path for you. He's calling you beyond tradition, beyond routine, into something extraordinary, a faith that is fully alive, fully free, fully yours. This is your moment of spiritual liberation, the moment to let go of the familiar and step into the fullness of what God has for you. You are chosen for something more. Let go of what was. Step into what is. God is with you, every step, every breath, every moment. At first, this newfound freedom might feel unsettling. You may wonder what your spiritual life will look like without the weekly routines and rituals of church attendance. But in reality, this isn't a loss. It's an invitation to embrace a faith that is completely authentic, where your connection to God isn't built on structure, but on a deep, personal relationship with Him. Being chosen means you have the power to walk in your spiritual calling without needing external validation or guidance. God Himself is leading you, calling you into a life of greater freedom, purpose, and intimacy with Him. This is your path, and it's exactly where you are meant to be. Not everyone is called to walk this way. Many still seek God through external structures, through church, rituals, and community, because that's what they need to stay connected to Him. But you, the chosen one, no longer require these things. Your faith isn't dependent on a building or a service. You've been called into something deeper, a direct, personal, and powerful relationship with God that transcends tradition. This doesn't mean the church is wrong or unnecessary for others. It simply means your journey is different. While some still rely on the structure of church for their spiritual growth, you've been set apart. You're on a path that leads straight to God, and He is with you every step of the way. Maybe you grew up believing that God's presence was confined to a church, that your connection with Him was only valid in a certain setting. But what if the truth is even more beautiful? What if God has been with you all along, not bound by walls or rituals, but present in every moment of your life? You are chosen, you are free, and your relationship with God is limitless. God's love for you is unshakable, deep, personal, and ever-present. He knows your heart, your struggles, your dreams, and your deepest desires. That's why you don't need a church or any institution to connect with Him. The divine is already within you, guiding you, loving you, and empowering you every step of the way. You are not separated from God by distance or ritual. You are already one with Him. This realization is liberating. It means your spiritual journey doesn't require external validation. You are already whole, already chosen, already deeply loved. But as you embrace this truth, you may face resistance. Some will misunderstand. Others may ridicule you or question your path, clinging to traditions that no longer define you. But remember, these people are not your enemy. They are simply walking their own journey. Some may even turn their backs on you, dismissing your spiritual freedom as weakness or confusion. Yet, their rejection is not a curse. It is a blessing. It is proof that you are set apart for something greater. These moments of doubt and opposition will test you, but they will also refine you. They will teach you to trust your calling and stay firm in your faith, no matter what others say. Your path is not for everyone, and that's okay. Some may never understand, but that does not make your journey any less sacred. You have been chosen to walk a path that leads to deeper spiritual truth, authenticity, and connection with God. Even in the face of betrayal, your purpose remains unshaken. For so long, you may have sought approval, attending services, following the rules, trying to fit in, believing that your worth was measured by these external markers. But now, God is calling you to stop seeking validation from the church or from others. You are already chosen, already loved, already empowered to walk your path without needing permission from anyone. The world will try to convince you that you need the church to define your faith, to give it structure and meaning. But the truth is, your faith is already valid because God Himself has validated you. You are His chosen one. Your worth is not determined by any institution, tradition, or opinion. Now is the time to step fully into your true identity. Walk boldly, knowing that you have been called for something extraordinary. Your relationship with God is the most real and important thing in your life. The approval of others is no longer necessary, because the only validation you need comes directly from Him. There will always be people who misunderstand or even criticize your decision to step away from the traditional church setting. Some hold tightly to structure, ritual, and the validation of others, mistaking those things for faith itself. To them, your path may seem like a rejection of everything they hold sacred. They might even call you lost or misguided. But their reaction has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of their own journey. The truth is, those who judge you stay in the church because they need it. They need the comfort of familiarity, the reassurance of belonging, and the approval of their peers to feel secure in their faith. But you, the chosen one, no longer seek validation from the outside world. You have found your security in God alone, and that is enough. Your decision to walk away isn't an act of rebellion. It's an act of spiritual liberation. You are stepping into your power, trusting that God is with you, guiding you with every step. The opinions of others lose their weight when you are fully rooted in truth, standing firm in the divine calling placed upon your life. For so long, people were told they needed a middleman to reach God, a priest, a pastor, a ritual. These figures were seen as gatekeepers of the divine, the only ones who could truly communicate with Him. But now, you are awakening to a new reality. You don't need a church building, a preacher's voice, or a sacred ceremony to experience God. Your connection with Him is direct, personal, and unshakable. It happens in your home, in nature, in the stillness of your heart. Every moment is an opportunity to hear His voice, seek His guidance, and feel His presence. This shift in perspective isn't just freeing, it's empowering. You are no longer bound by external traditions to feel close to God. Your faith is alive, dynamic, and ever-present within you. Trust in this connection. Embrace the freedom it brings. This is what it truly means to be chosen. Leaving the church behind isn't a rejection of faith. It's an act of courage. It's a bold step toward embracing the fullness of your divine calling. You are being called to live a life that is true to who you are, not one shaped by the expectations or limitations of others. Your spiritual journey is deeply personal, and now is the time to fully embrace the path that God has laid before you. True spiritual power doesn't come from rituals or external traditions. It comes from the daily, intimate relationship you cultivate with God. When you step away from the structure of the church, you create space for something greater, a faith that is personal, alive, and uniquely yours. This journey is one of freedom, self-discovery, and deep, unshakable connection with the divine. And as you move forward, trust that God is with you every step of the way. He has already equipped you with everything you need to fulfill your purpose, and He is guiding you toward a life of true meaning and fulfillment. The church may have once been the heart of your spiritual life, but for many, it has become a place of routine rather than growth. It offers comfort, but not necessarily transformation. But you are different. You are chosen. And for you, the church is no longer where you find spiritual nourishment. You have been set apart for something greater, a deeper, more authentic connection with God that transcends the walls of any building. This is not about saying the church is wrong. It's about recognizing that your journey is different. You have been chosen for a higher purpose, one that calls you to experience God in a way that is direct, personal, and transformative. The rituals and traditions of the past no longer resonate with you because you have outgrown them. You are being called to something more powerful, something alive within you. Embrace this change. Walk boldly in the light of your divine purpose, knowing that the path ahead will lead you to deeper spiritual growth and true fulfillment. The path of the chosen one is not an easy one, but it is a beautiful one. It requires faith, courage, and an unwavering trust in God's guidance. As you step away from the traditional church experience, you are not walking away from faith. You are walking toward something greater. This is your calling. This is your journey. And God is leading the way. You are walking a path that is entirely your own, a journey of divine purpose and spiritual awakening. With every step you take, God is beside you, leading you to places beyond what you ever imagined. Trust in His plan and walk boldly in the direction He is guiding you. You have been chosen for something greater. This is your journey, one of authenticity, freedom, and an unshakable connection to the divine. Stepping away from the church doesn't mean you're abandoning your faith. It means you are embracing a deeper, more sacred relationship with God. This choice is powerful. It reflects your desire for a connection with the divine that goes beyond rituals and traditions. You are not losing your faith. You are reclaiming it. In the past, you may have looked to the church to shape your spirituality, but now you see that God's presence is not confined to any building. He is within you, guiding you wherever you go. The sacredness of this decision lies in your trust that your connection with God is personal, limitless, and unshaken by human structures. You are not lost without the church. You are found in the truth of who you are, chosen, loved, and deeply connected to God. By stepping away, you are reclaiming your spiritual freedom. You no longer need man-made boundaries to define your faith. Your relationship with God is intimate and real, beyond anything that can be structured or contained. This freedom allows you to walk your path with authenticity, free from expectations and traditions that no longer serve your spirit. As you embrace this next phase of your journey, trust that you are walking a sacred path. The divine is closer to you now than ever before, and you have been called to experience God in a way that is truly profound. This is a blessing, a testament to the strength and depth of your faith. Tradition can bring comfort and familiarity, but for you, the chosen one, it has become a limitation. You have been called to break free, to live in the divine flow, an ever-evolving journey that cannot be restricted by the past. Your soul longs for something greater, something deeper, and God is inviting you to step fully into this transformation. Walking away from tradition doesn't mean rejecting the wisdom you've gained. It means embracing a more personal and dynamic relationship with the divine. God is not static, and neither is your faith. You are meant to grow, evolve, and walk in the fullness of His presence, unbound, unshaken, and truly free. When you step into the divine flow, you open yourself to constant growth, fresh revelations, and the deep joy of experiencing God in every moment. This freedom isn't just about breaking away from old patterns. It's about aligning with your true, higher purpose. You're no longer bound by the expectations or traditions set by others. Instead, you are guided by the inner voice of God, leading you forward with love, wisdom, and an unwavering sense of direction. This journey is dynamic, deeply personal, and ever-evolving. As you surrender to this divine rhythm, you'll find yourself in constant connection with God, not through rigid routines, but through authentic, living faith. Your spirituality will no longer feel confined or forced. Instead, it will be an organic expression of who you are, flowing freely in ways that feel true to your soul. You are called to something greater, something deeper. You've sat through sermons, sung the hymns, followed the rituals, but somewhere along the way, you realize that the church's voice no longer speaks to your soul the way it once did. It's not that you've lost your faith, it's that your faith is calling you beyond the wall of tradition. This isn't a failure, it's a transformation. The institution of the church was never meant to be the final destination. It was a starting point, a foundation. But now you've outgrown the rituals, and your spirit craves something more. A direct, unfiltered connection with the divine. You are being invited into a new way of experiencing God, one that doesn't rely on sermons or structured services. At first, the silence may feel unsettling, as if something is missing. But this is where God speaks the loudest, in the stillness, in the quiet corners of your heart. His voice isn't confined to a building. It's within you, around you, waiting for you to truly listen. As you let go of the familiar teachings, you'll begin to hear God more clearly, in ways that are deeply personal and profoundly powerful. This is your invitation to seek Him beyond tradition, to live a faith that isn't dictated by routine, but shaped by your own intimate relationship with the divine. The silence of the church isn't a void, it's an open space, a sacred pause where God's voice can finally reach you. The path you're on isn't the one most people choose. It requires courage, trust, and a willingness to step into the unknown. It's unstructured, unconventional, and often misunderstood. But it is your path, the one God has laid before you, and when you embrace it, you will find a life overflowing with spiritual abundance, purpose, and the kind of blessings that only come when you dare to walk the road less traveled. The path of the chosen one is often a lonely road, not because you are truly alone, but because your calling sets you apart. The world may not understand your journey. You may face doubt, resistance, and even ridicule. But none of that matters when you are anchored in the truth. God is with you. His love is your guiding light. And that divine connection gives you the strength to move forward, even when the world pushes against you. While most people cling to comfort and familiarity, you are called to something greater. Growth is not easy. It will stretch you, challenge you, and shape you into the person God has always known you to be. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to stand out. Your purpose is unique, your path is sacred, and your journey is meant to inspire. Every step you take brings you closer to the fullness of your divine calling. But walking the road less traveled requires more than just faith. It requires surrender. You must be willing to release expectations, trust the unknown, and fully embrace the life God has designed for you. Something inside you is awakening, a deep knowing, a stirring in your soul, a sense that you are being called to something greater. You've felt it for a while. That shift, that pull toward a deeper, more authentic spiritual experience. You're not imagining it. You are being invited into something beyond tradition, beyond routine, beyond what you've always known. This awakening is not a rejection of God. It is an invitation from Him. It is a call to walk in closer communion with the divine, to live your faith, not just through rituals, but through revelation. As you become more attuned to your purpose, you may find that old structures no longer fit. But that does not mean you are lost. It means you are being led. The Word of God is not confined to a building or a sermon. It is alive within you. This awakening is not an endpoint. It is the beginning of a journey, one that will challenge you, inspire you, and reveal the truth of who you are. As a chosen one, your faith will become deeply personal, your purpose undeniable, and your path unmistakably divine. Now is the time to step fully into your calling. The world may not understand, but heaven already does. Embrace your awakening with an open heart. Trust that God is leading you into a deeper, more personal connection with Him, one that goes beyond tradition and ritual. You are being called to experience Him in a way that is uniquely yours, a journey unlike anything you've known before. For the chosen one, true freedom begins when you break free from the limits of tradition, ritual, and the need for approval. To truly live in freedom is to walk in the Spirit, to allow God's presence to lead you moment by moment. It's a life unshackled by expectations, a life where you are free to embrace your spiritual calling in its purest form. But freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about living in alignment with your highest purpose. When you walk in the Spirit, you allow God to lead you, guiding you toward what is best for your soul's growth. There are no walls around your spiritual journey, no limits to how you can connect with the divine. This kind of freedom is transformational. It releases you from the weight of man-made expectations and allows you to fully embrace the divine wisdom that already exists within you. You don't have to search for validation or direction from the outside world. Everything you need is already inside you, waiting to be revealed. As you step into this freedom, trust that God is guiding every move you make. Your path is uniquely yours, leading you into a life of true spiritual liberation. There are no barriers, no restrictions, only the vast open road to the fullness of God's love and purpose for you. You are not separate from the divine. You are one with it. This truth has always been within you, though it may have been buried beneath doubt, fear, and the conditioning of the world. But as you awaken, you will begin to understand. God's presence is in you, around you, guiding you in all things. Your highest calling is to live from this place of divine connection, to move through life with the awareness that you are always held, always led, and always deeply loved. This is the heart of your spiritual awakening, the realization that you are not just a follower of God's teachings, you are a reflection of His divine essence. You were created in His image, and your life is meant to embody the love, wisdom, and power He has placed within you. When you start living with this awareness, everything shifts. Walking in alignment with the divine within you takes courage and faith. It means letting go of the need for external validation and stepping boldly into the truth of who you are. You were made to be a living expression of God's love, power, and purpose. This is your calling, and as you awaken to it, you will begin to live more fully in this divine reality. Trust that you are exactly where you are meant to be. As you align yourself with the presence of God within, you will experience a deeper peace, greater clarity, and a fulfillment beyond anything you've imagined. You were never meant to live small. You were meant to walk in the fullness of God's love, and that begins by embracing the divine within you. For so long, the walls of a church may have felt like the boundaries of your spiritual world. But now, God is calling you beyond those walls, both literally and spiritually. You are invited to experience His presence, not just inside a building, but in the world around you, in every moment of your life. Your faith isn't meant to be confined to a Sunday service or a specific structure. It is alive, dynamic, and woven into every part of your being, your work, your relationships, your everyday experiences. This calling to live beyond the walls is an invitation to embrace the world as your sacred space. God is with you in the streets, in the mountains, in your home, and in the hearts of those you love. His presence is not limited to a place. It is within you, always. Step into this truth and watch as your life transforms. Your spiritual journey isn't confined to a church building. It's about living in constant connection with the divine, wherever you are. Embrace this calling with an open heart. Trust that God is leading you to live your faith authentically, beyond the walls of tradition, in a way that reflects the true freedom and power of your relationship with Him. Religion can sometimes feel heavy, weighted down by expectations, rituals, and the pressure to meet someone else's idea of faith. But stepping away from the church doesn't mean stepping away from God. Instead, it's breaking free from those constraints and stepping into a deeper, more personal walk with Him, one where your faith isn't about conformity, but about true spiritual freedom. This isn't about rejecting God. It's about embracing a more authentic connection with Him. When you let go of rigid religious rules, you make space for something greater, a faith that isn't bound by tradition, but is fully aligned with who you are and who God created you to be.